Opening scene. The camera slowly zooms in on a woman sitting alone in a corner, surrounded by the busy hustle of a wedding reception. The noise of laughter and music is muted by the heavy kitchen doors that stand between her and the celebration. A tray of shrimp cocktails sits untouched in front of her, the cold food a stark contrast to the warmth of the event she's meant to be part of. Narrator, her voice, calm but filled with quiet pain. She sat me by the kitchen. That's where I watched my son get married, through a swinging door, behind a tray of shrimp cocktail I paid for. Every flower, every chair, every little detail of this day. I paid for it. But when the music started and the toast began, I wasn't part of it. Not even close. Cut to the woman adjusting her dress, her hands trembling slightly. She looks down at her mauve chiffon gown, feeling the weight of the day's disappointment pressing on her shoulders. Narrator, her voice, soft but carrying the burden of years of unspoken emotions. I spent hours getting ready this morning. 3 hours on my hair. 3 hours pretending this day would be as special for me as it was for them. But when I arrived, no one looked at me. Not even Daniel. He was too busy adjusting his cufflinks, letting her mother kiss him on the cheek. As if she were the one who stayed up every night, the one who worked double shifts to put braces on his teeth when I could barely afford rent and his smile. She takes a deep breath, holding back tears as she stares at the crowd in front of her. The contrast between her dress and the surroundings, a pile of dirty trays and a broken-wheeled cart, seems to magnify her isolation. Narrator, her voice trembles slightly. There was no sign, no card, no nameplate. Just a folding chair with a paper napkin tossed over the seat. That was my place, between stacks of used trays and the scent of marinara hanging thick in the air. I sat there for a few moments, blinking hard, trying to make sense of it all. Close-up of her hands, tightly clutching a small handbag, beige leather, the one Daniel bought her years ago for Mother's Day. Narrator, her voice hardening. The catering manager, a boy no older than my son, approached awkwardly. They said you were supposed to wait back here, ma'am, he said with a flinch. The bride didn't want any visual clashes with the theme. She looks at him for a moment, disbelief flashing in her eyes. Narrator, her voice steady now but carrying an edge. Theme, as if that's all that mattered. As if my presence, my love for Daniel, wasn't important enough to even be considered in the theme. She slowly sits down in the chair, the sound of her shoes scraping the sticky floor adding to the oppressive silence. The distant sounds of laughter and clinking glasses from the main hall cut through the air like a cruel reminder of where she doesn't belong. Narrator, her voice soft but filled with the weight of years of selflessness. I sat there, quiet, invisible. And as I watched them, my son, dancing with Emily under the glow of the chandelier, I realized something. I didn't matter to them anymore. Not in the way that counted. I was just the purse strings, the invisible woman behind the scenes. She takes another breath, as if holding back the flood of emotions threatening to overwhelm her. Narrator, her voice cracking with emotion, but still holding onto composure. And maybe that was the worst part. I let them chip away at my place in this story. No speech from me. No mother-son dance. No place in the program. Just a seat in the kitchen, behind the swinging door. And I stayed quiet. I told myself not to ruin this day for him. But I didn't know if I could do it much longer. Cut to her staring at the chipped plate of food in front of her, the small triangle of toast and cold chicken breast untouched. Her eyes fixate on the peeling paint on the wall across from her, a small, insignificant detail that becomes her anchor. Narrator, her voice quiet, but stronger. I stayed quiet. But something inside me was starting to break. Something that had been broken for years, finally shattered. And that's when I made the call. The call that would change everything. Cut to the woman in her quiet hotel room, staring at the phone in her hands after making the cancellations. Her gaze drifts away, and she starts to reminisce about the years spent raising Daniel. Narrator, her voice softening, filled with reflection. I remember when Daniel was little. I remember the nights I stayed up, long past midnight, stitching up his school uniform or trying to stretch the budget just enough to cover both rent and the things he needed. I worked long hours, sometimes taking double shifts at the hospital just to make sure he had what he needed. His smile, his laughter was everything to me. She sits on the edge of the bed, holding a picture frame of Daniel as a child, smiling wide in his school uniform. The smile in the photo is pure, untainted by the distance that has grown between them. Narrator, her voice shaking slightly as memories flood back. I didn't have the luxury of much rest. There were years when I barely saw a break. But it was okay. I did it all for him. I put my dreams aside. I stopped buying new clothes. I didn't take vacations. I didn't even let myself think about what I wanted. Because it was always about him. About making sure he had the life I never did. Cut to flashback scenes. Young Daniel running around the backyard, his mother chasing him, their laughter filling the air. The camera shifts to her sitting at the kitchen table late at night, her eyes tired but determined as she writes a check for his braces. Narrator, her voice hardens with the weight of years of quiet sacrifice. I worked to give him a future. I spent hours after my shifts, cleaning, cooking, helping with homework, never once thinking of myself. I thought one day he'll see. One day he'll understand. Transition to the wedding day again. The woman now looking down at her dress as she recalls how she had spent hours preparing for the event, only to be left in the kitchen. The disparity between the effort she put into this day and her current reality becomes stark. Narrator, her voice growing firmer. But today, none of that mattered. It didn't matter that I paid for every detail of this wedding. Every flower, every chair, every single thing they wanted. I gave it to them. I thought it would make a difference. I thought he would see me there in that hall and remember who I was to him. She pulls out the program handed to her at the church. It's elegant, written in cursive on cream-colored cardstock. The program is a mockery of what she had hoped for. Her name isn't even mentioned. Narrator, her voice tightening with bitterness. There was no mention of me in the program. No thank you, no acknowledgement. Just nothing. Her father walked her down the aisle. Her mother made the first toast. And I sat there, quietly, invisibly in the back. The woman who raised him, who gave him everything, was erased. Just like that. She stands up, her fingers trembling as she holds the program. The sound of the band playing and laughter spilling through the doors fills the background, but it feels distant, like she's no longer a part of it. Narrator, her voice is quiet but resolved. And for a moment, I felt like I didn't even know who I was anymore. I was just the purse strings, the one they called on when they needed something, the one who paid for the wedding, but had no place in the photos, the one who had given up everything, only to be tossed aside. I wasn't Daniel's mother today. I was just the woman who helped fund someone else's fairy tale. She walks to the window, staring out into the night. The city lights flicker in the distance, and for a moment, she seems lost in thought. Narrator, her voice softer, introspective. Maybe I should have said something. Maybe I should have demanded my place. But I didn't, because for years, I had swallowed my own needs, my own desires for him, for his future, for his happiness. And in that moment, as I sat there in that chair, feeling more invisible than I ever had before, I realized something. She pauses, looking directly into the camera. A brief flicker of determination flashes in her eyes. Narrator, her voice steadier, filled with new resolve. This wasn't just about a wedding. This wasn't just about being left behind at some event. This was about a lifetime of giving everything for someone who couldn't even be bothered to see me. And I was done. I was done being invisible. I was done being the afterthought. The camera slowly zooms in on the woman, now sitting in the hotel room, her fingers pressing against the cold surface of the bedside table. Her expression is calm, but there's a storm brewing beneath the surface as she reflects on the betrayal she has just witnessed. The sounds of the celebration outside are muffled, like distant echoes of a life she no longer belongs to. Narrator, her voice low, tinged with quiet anger. It's funny how betrayal can creep up on you. How it can feel like a sharp sting, but then it settles in your chest like a heavy weight. No one needed to say anything for me to understand. I didn't need words. I saw it in their actions, the way they turned their backs on me, the way they made me invisible in my own son's life. Cut to her memory, the moments when she arrived at the venue. She remembers how she stood in the doorway, watching as Daniel was too busy greeting his bride and her family to even acknowledge her. She was left to stand there unnoticed as the event unfolded without her. Narrator, her voice tinged with the hurt of years of sacrifice. When I arrived, not a single person looked at me, not even Daniel. I saw him, adjusting his cufflinks, smiling wide, the same smile he used to give me when he was a little boy and I'd tuck him in at night. That smile was for her, not me. He didn't even look my way. And in that moment, I knew. I knew I didn't belong here. I was just an accessory to this wedding, a checkbook to cover the cost of dreams that weren't even mine. She clutches the program she had been given at the church, her fingers tightening around it as she remembers the program that made no mention of her. The camera zooms in on the beautiful cursive lettering, contrasting sharply with the emptiness she feels. Narrator, her voice growing steady with the weight of realization. I paid for everything, every little detail. The flowers, the food, the photographer, the venue. I did all of it. And yet there I was forgotten. Not a mention in the program. Not a speech from me. Not a dance with my son. Just a folding chair in the kitchen, watching my son, my own flesh and blood, dance with someone else like I wasn't even there. The camera cuts to a flashback of her younger self, giving everything to raise Daniel. Late nights, endless sacrifices. The vivid images of her hard-working years flash through her mind, contrasting against the coldness of the kitchen and the brokenness of her present reality. Narrator, her voice cracks with the bitter taste of rejection. I gave up my dreams, my time, my everything for him. I worked double shifts, stayed up late to finish projects, and made sure he had everything he needed. I thought it would matter. I thought that when the time came, he would see what I had done for him. But today, at his wedding, it felt like none of it mattered. Like all that I gave, all that I sacrificed was forgotten. She looks at her cold plate of food, unable to eat. The silence in the kitchen grows louder, the clinking of plates and distant chatter from the reception only making her feel more alone. Narrator, her voice bitter, quiet, but filled with a new realization. The worst part wasn't just being left in the kitchen. It wasn't the cold food or the broken wheel on the cart beside me. No, the worst part was realizing that they had planned this. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a mistake. This was deliberate. She stands up, walking to the door of the kitchen, her hand resting on the doorframe. She peers through the crack and sees Daniel laughing, talking to his new wife and her family. But not once does he look her way. The sharp sting of realization cuts through her heart. Narrator, her voice steady now, filled with quiet rage. She smiled at me when she saw me, Emily, the bride. Not an apologetic smile, not a nervous one, but a calm, confident smile. Like it was natural. Like I belonged in the background. Like this was where I belonged, in the kitchen, out of sight, out of mind. The camera captures the moment she locks eyes with Emily, the bride's smug expression still etched in her memory as the door swings closed. She feels the weight of her son's silence. Narrator, her voice turns cold with a quiet power. That was when I knew. This wasn't an oversight. This wasn't some mistake. This was their plan all along. They didn't want me here. They didn't want me in the pictures. They didn't want me in their lives anymore. And Daniel let it happen. He stayed silent. He didn't defend me. And in that moment, I knew I wasn't just the woman in the kitchen. I was a ghost in his life. Invisible. Forgotten. No more. She walks back to her seat in the kitchen, her hand steady now, her heart calm but filled with determination. She takes a deep breath, a moment of clarity washing over her. Narrator, her voice, quiet but resolute. But I was done pretending. Done pretending I didn't see it. Done pretending I didn't know what they were doing. Let them have their fairy tale. Let them dance and toast to a love that was built on my sacrifices. Let them enjoy the night. But I wasn't going to stay in the kitchen any longer. I wasn't going to be invisible anymore. The camera cuts back to the woman sitting alone in the kitchen, the soft hum of the wedding reception leaking through the swinging doors. She sits quietly, almost numb, as the music swells in the background. Her plate of cold food remains untouched, the untouched shrimp and chicken mocking her quiet suffering. Narrator, her voice calm, but the pain beneath is palpable. I sat there for what felt like hours, just listening, watching. The music played, the laughter echoed through the walls, and I felt like I was becoming a part of the furniture, something that had no place here, something that no one even noticed anymore. My heart felt heavy, like it was filled with concrete. She looks at her hands, trembling slightly. Her fingers are clenched tightly, her nails digging into the skin. She presses her hand to her chest, as though trying to hold the pieces of herself together. Narrator, her voice a whisper, like a prayer to herself. I thought I would break. I thought I might burst into tears right there. But I didn't. Not yet. I had to hold it together. For him. For the day that was supposed to be about his happiness. I kept telling myself, don't ruin this. Don't be that mother. She clenches her jaw, her eyes burning as she swallows down the lump in her throat. A tear wells up in her eye, but she doesn't let it fall. Instead, she looks down at the program in her hand again. Her name still nowhere to be found. Narrator, her voice shaking, barely containing the rage. But the truth hit me like a ton of bricks. No one here saw me. No one saw all the years I spent making him who he is today. They saw me as nothing more than a checkbook. They saw me as the one who paid for the wedding, but they didn't see me as his mother. She stands up, her legs shaky. The camera follows her as she slowly walks over to the window, looking out at the night sky. The city lights twinkle, but they feel distant, out of reach. She takes a deep breath, her hands trembling slightly. Narrator, her voice cracks, the pain palpable. And in that moment, something inside me snapped. I couldn't take it anymore. All those years of sacrificing, of being overlooked, of thinking that if I just gave a little more, they would see me, none of it mattered anymore. I was done. She takes out her phone from her handbag, her hands steady now. The camera zooms in on her fingers as they hover over the screen, and she taps on the contacts. Her breath steady, she makes the first call. Narrator, her voice growing stronger, filled with resolve. I wasn't going to stay quiet anymore. I wasn't going to be the invisible woman in the kitchen. I picked up the phone and I made the call. The first call. The florist. The flowers for the brunch tomorrow. Gone. No second guessing. No explanation. Just a firm decision. The wedding was over for me. And so were my sacrifices. She hangs up the phone, looking down at her hands. Her fingers are no longer trembling. They're steady. The camera pans over her face. Her expression has changed. There's a quiet strength there, something that wasn't there before. Narrator, her voice calm, but filled with power. I didn't feel regret. I didn't feel guilt. For the first time in years, I felt something I hadn't felt in so long. Power. Power over my own life. Power over my decisions. I was taking back control. And it felt liberating. She makes 2 more calls, the band and the bar vendor, canceling their services. Her voice remains steady and calm as she tells them to cancel the second performance and the post-reception services. She doesn't explain herself. She doesn't need to. Narrator, her voice steady now, filled with calm determination. They thought they had control. They thought they could erase me. But I wasn't going to let them anymore. I wasn't going to be their afterthought. I wasn't going to be the woman who just smiled and stayed quiet. I was taking back my life. She leans against the wall, looking out the window again. The city lights seem a little brighter now. A sense of peace is settling in her heart as she watches the world outside continue, unaware of the storm she has just weathered. Narrator, her voice soft but filled with quiet strength. It wasn't just about the wedding anymore. It wasn't just about them. It was about me, about reclaiming my life, about standing up for the woman I had always been, but had forgotten for far too long. She smiles faintly, a small smile of satisfaction as the camera lingers on her face. It's the first real smile she's had all day, the first sign of relief. Narrator, her voice confident. I wasn't going to cry. Not anymore. Not over them. Not over a life that wasn't mine. I was done pretending I didn't see what was right in front of me. I had given up everything for him, only to be forgotten. But now I was going to take everything back. One call at a time. The scene opens with the woman sitting on the bed in her hotel room, her face illuminated by the soft light from the bedside lamp. Her phone buzzes incessantly beside her. Missed calls, text messages, voicemails. She doesn't touch it. Instead, she looks out the window, the quiet city streets stretching beneath the moonlit sky. Narrator, her voice calm, but a quiet strength radiating from her words. The calls kept coming. Messages flooded my inbox. Daniel, Emily, even my niece. They were all trying to reach me. They wanted answers. They wanted to know why everything was falling apart. But I didn't answer. Not this time. She stares at the phone without picking it up. Her fingers hover over it for a moment, then pull back. Narrator, her voice steady, the weight of her decision clear. It was almost like a calm before a storm. The silence in the room felt different now. Not empty, not lonely, just quiet. I had stopped chasing after their approval, stopped trying to fit into a life that had no room for me. And for the first time in ages, I felt like I was breathing again. Cut to the woman sitting at the small desk, her tablet open in front of her. The glow of the screen highlights the steady determination in her eyes. The cursor hovers over the email she's about to send, finalizing her decisions. Narrator, her voice growing resolute as she begins typing. I knew what I needed to do. I needed to make sure that no one would ever forget who had made this day possible. It wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about drama. It was about owning my choices and taking control of the narrative. And I wasn't going to apologize for it. She clicks send. The emails are brief, polite, but final. To the florist, the band, and the bar vendor. Cancellations. Changes. Her decisions were already made. Narrator, her voice quieter, but with a sense of peace settling in. The florist? Cancelled. The band? No second performance. The bar? Closed early. Everything they had counted on to keep the party going, gone. It was like I had flipped a switch, and with each click of the send button, I felt something shift inside me. The power of saying no felt like nothing I had ever experienced before. She sits back in the chair, looking at her hands as she absorbs the weight of her actions. Her fingers, once trembling, are now steady. A new sense of peace has taken root in her heart. Narrator, her voice gaining strength, filled with quiet resolve. For years, I had swallowed my pride, my desires, my needs, thinking it was the right thing to do for them, thinking it would make everything better. But now I was choosing myself. I wasn't going to be the invisible mother who kept sacrificing for the people who would never appreciate it. I wasn't going to be the one who kept pretending. She picks up the phone again, glancing at the screen but not answering. The messages are still coming, still demanding explanations. But she feels nothing. She simply puts the phone down, a small but definitive action. Narrator, her voice softer now, almost like a whisper to herself. I didn't need their understanding. I didn't need their approval. I wasn't going to be dragged back into their narrative, where I was the supporting character, the background. I was the author of my own story now. And the story I was writing, it was mine. No more apologies. No more compromises. I was done being thereafter. The camera lingers on her face, the calm expression a stark contrast to the pain she had felt just hours earlier. She takes a deep breath, and for the first time, she allows herself to simply exist in the quiet. Narrator, her voice steady, filled with a sense of closure. The wedding was over. The moment had passed. But I was still here. I was still me. And I was finally taking up space in my own life again. No more hiding. No more waiting for someone else's permission to live. This was my moment. She stands up slowly, walking over to the window again. The streetlights below shine softly, a symbol of the world continuing on as it always had, unaware of the transformation happening in the hotel room. But she knows now. She knows she has control of her own destiny. Narrator, her voice filled with quiet power. Let them have their party. Let them laugh and toast and dance. They thought they could erase me, thought they could make me invisible. But now I knew something they didn't. I knew that my worth wasn't tied to their approval. My worth was mine, and I would never let it be forgotten again. She looks out the window one last time before turning away. There's a sense of calm resolution in her eyes. She's done with the past. She's ready for what's next. The camera opens with a soft morning light streaming through the curtains. The woman is sitting on the edge of the bed, looking at the quiet, still morning outside. The soft hum of the city sounds distant, serene. Her phone sits on the nightstand, still buzzing with notifications, but today, it feels insignificant. Narrator, her voice calm, almost serene, as she watches the sun rise. The sun was rising, and for the first time in days, the weight on my chest felt lighter. The world outside was still turning, as it always does, but something inside me had shifted. I wasn't tied to that wedding anymore. I wasn't tied to the guilt, the expectations. I was free. She picks up her phone and looks at the missed calls and text messages, dozens of them. But today, they seem distant, irrelevant. Narrator, her voice quiet, but firm as she scrolls through the messages. Daniel, Emily, the vendor texts. They were all there, demanding answers, wondering why everything had been canceled. But I had made my choice. I had made my peace. I didn't owe them an explanation anymore. She sets the phone back down, leaving it unanswered. A small, but powerful gesture of control. She stands up from the bed, stretching, a calm smile forming as she looks at herself in the mirror. There's no makeup, no pretense, just her, raw and real. Narrator, her voice soft but with growing clarity. I had spent years running after their approval, running after their love. But in the silence of that hotel room, I found something I hadn't had in a long time. I found myself. I didn't need their validation. I didn't need to keep proving my worth. I was enough just as I was. Cut to her walking through the hotel room, gathering her things slowly. The camera lingers on her hands as she packs her belongings. No rush, no panic. She's calm, focused, unbothered by the chaos left behind by the wedding. Narrator, her voice more grounded now, filled with a quiet strength. I packed my bag, took one last look at the hotel room, and knew it was time to leave. The wedding was theirs, but my life was mine. I didn't need to stay and chase after their mess. I had already cleaned up my own. She walks out of the hotel room, her movements purposeful. The camera follows her as she exits into the daylight, her steps light, as if a burden has been lifted from her shoulders. The world outside is different now. Narrator, her voice filled with quiet pride. As I walked out of that hotel, I realized something important. She pauses, standing on the sidewalk, looking around her. I didn't need them to know the truth. I didn't need them to understand why I made the choices I did. What mattered was that I understood. And that was enough. The camera captures her walking down the sidewalk, a woman who has rediscovered her power, the world open before her. The sunlight falls on her face, her expression serene, content. Narrator, her voice filled with peace. I had always been strong, but for the first time in a long time, I was strong for myself, not for anyone else. And that, more than anything else, was the greatest gift I could give myself. She reaches her car, opening the door with a deep breath, ready for whatever comes next. She slides into the seat, the camera capturing her eyes, focused, peaceful, free. She starts the car, the engine humming to life, and the world seems to shift. For the first time, she feels like the driver of her own life. Narrator, her voice now confident, fully at peace. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew one thing for sure. I would never again let anyone make me feel small. I would never again hide behind a door or in a kitchen. I would never again be invisible. She drives off, the camera following the car as it disappears into the horizon. The music swells gently, an anthem of personal triumph. The camera fades to black. Narrator, her voice, final and resolute. Today I am enough, and I will always be enough. The scene opens with the woman sitting at her kitchen table, the morning sunlight streaming through the window, casting a soft glow on her face. She's holding a red folder worn with age, filled with paper she's avoided looking at for years. The camera focuses on her hands as she slowly opens the folder. Narrator, her voice calm, yet carrying the weight of years of unspoken truths. It's funny how life has a way of keeping secrets, even from us. We think we know everything, but sometimes the truth waits. It waits until we're ready to face it. until we're strong enough to understand it. She slowly pulls out a letter from the folder. It's yellowed at the edges, dated years ago. The handwriting is familiar, her late husband's. She hesitates for a moment, looking at the letter as if it might hold some kind of poison. But she steels herself and begins to read. Narrator, her voice softer now, almost hesitant as she reads. Margaret, if you're reading this, I guess the first letter reached you. I'm sorry. I know you probably never wanted to hear from me again. But there's something I need to tell you. Something I should have told you a long time ago. Cut to a flashback of her younger self, sitting at the same table, receiving letters from her husband before his sudden departure. She looks over at a family photo on the wall, where Daniel, her son, smiles happily in her arms. Narrator, her voice, almost a whisper, filled with the quiet sorrow of realization. I never thought there was anything left to know. I thought the man I married had already shown me everything. We had built a life together, raised Daniel together. But I was wrong. There were things he hadn't told me, things I never could have imagined. The camera cuts back to her reading the letter, her eyes widening slightly as she continues. Narrator, her voice trembling slightly as she reads. Daniel, he isn't biologically yours. I found out years ago. Emily was pregnant when we got together, and I thought I could pretend he was mine. But he's not. Neither of us ever told you. I'm sorry. The letter falls from her hands onto the table, her face frozen in shock. The room feels smaller, quieter. Every sound around her fades as she stares at the words on the paper. Narrator, her voice cracked, the pain of the revelation making it hard to speak. All these years, I had raised him, loved him, given him everything I had. And now I learned that he wasn't even mine. Not by blood, not by biology. She stands up slowly, walking to the window. Her hands are shaking now, her body trembling as she absorbs the gravity of what she has just learned. The camera follows her, capturing her lost expression. Narrator, her voice quieter now, as if speaking to herself. I wasn't prepared for this. I had always believed Daniel was mine, in every sense of the word. But this letter, these words, this truth, changed everything. She breathes deeply, trying to steady herself. The sunlight feels warmer now, like it's giving her strength. She places her hands on the windowsill, her mind racing with the weight of the past, the sacrifices, the love, the years spent raising a child who wasn't even hers by blood. Narrator, her voice becoming more steady, though still filled with the emotion of the moment. I loved him. I loved him like my own. I held him when he cried, cheered for him at every soccer game, stayed up late to help him with his homework. I gave him everything, and I thought I was doing it for him, for us. She takes a deep breath and turns away from the window. Her movements are slow, but deliberate, like someone who is making a decision. She picks up the letter again and continues reading. Narrator, her voice now filled with quiet understanding. I raised him, didn't I? I was the one who picked him up when he fell, who held him when he was scared. I was the one who stayed up late, worked overtime to make sure he had everything. I was the one who was there, not because of blood, but because of love. She sets the letter down gently on the table. A quiet calm begins to settle over her as she reflects on everything that led her to this moment. Narrator, her voice calm but firm, filled with clarity. And that's what matters, not the blood, not the biology. It was the love. It was the choices I made, the sacrifices I gave. He wasn't mine by birth, but he was mine by every other measure that mattered. I was his mother in ways that went beyond DNA. The camera cuts to her walking to a bookshelf, pulling down a photo album. She flips through the pages, looking at old photos of Daniel growing up, each moment a reminder of the life they shared. Her fingers trace the edges of the pictures, her face softening as memories flood back. Narrator, her voice steady, but filled with a sense of newfound peace. I wasn't just a mother to him because of a shared genetic link. I was his mother because I chose to be, because I stayed. And that choice, that love, is what makes me who I am. She closes the album and places it back on the shelf. The camera zooms in on her face. There's no anger now, only a quiet resolve. A woman who has found clarity, no matter the truth that was uncovered. Narrator, her voice full of strength. I had always been enough. Even when I didn't know it. Even when I felt invisible. I was always enough. And that's something no one can take away from me. The scene opens with the woman sitting at her kitchen table, her fingers tracing the edge of a cup of tea. The morning sun is streaming through the window, casting soft light over the room. She's calm now, her mind settled, but there's still a fire inside her, a quiet determination that has been kindled by the truth she's just discovered. Narrator, her voice quiet but filled with resolve. The truth, it's a powerful thing, isn't it? It has a way of cutting through everything. The lies, the misunderstandings, the things we tell ourselves just to keep going. But once it's out, there's no going back. And for the first time in a long time, I could see everything clearly. My life, my choices, my worth, all of it in front of me. And now I had to make a decision. She picks up the phone from the table and stares at it for a moment, deep in thought. The camera focuses on her hands as they dial the number. Narrator, her voice steady, firm. I had given up everything for Daniel. I had sacrificed my own happiness, my time, my dreams, thinking that one day he would understand. But the truth was, he didn't even see me anymore. He didn't see all I had done. He didn't even see what I had given up just to give him everything he wanted. She presses the phone to her ear. The camera shows her waiting, her face composed, but there's a hardness in her eyes now. The phone rings a few times, and then a voice answers. Narrator, her voice calm, but the words cutting through the air. Hello. Daniel, it's Mom. Cut to a flashback of the last few times she tried to reach out to him. His distant replies, his excuses, his apparent disregard for the sacrifices she had made. Each memory is a reminder of the growing gap between them. Narrator, her voice, still calm, but her eyes hardening with determination. I need to talk to you about the wedding. She listens as he speaks, his tone defensive, as though he's already preparing an excuse. But she interrupts, her voice firm. Narrator, her voice clear, unshaken. I've been thinking about everything. About all the years I've spent supporting you, about the wedding, and about how I've been treated. I made the decision to cancel everything. The flowers, the band, the bar, everything. And I'm not sorry for it. She hears his voice on the other end, his shock, his confusion, his attempt to explain. But she isn't moved. The camera focuses on her face, her expression calm, no longer filled with emotion. Just a quiet, steady resolve. Narrator, her voice calm, almost distant. I've done everything for you, Daniel. And what did I get in return? A seat in the kitchen. No acknowledgement. No gratitude. Just nothing. She pauses for a moment, letting her words sink in. She's not angry anymore. Not like she used to be. This is different now. She's done. She's done with all the years of putting others first, sacrificing her own happiness for their comfort. Narrator, her voice gaining strength, filled with a sense of power. I'm not angry, Daniel. I'm not going to fight you over this. But I'm done. I'm done being your afterthought. I'm done being the one who gives and gets nothing in return. From now on, I'm putting myself first. And that means I'm done with all of this. She listens as he protests, tries to justify, but she cuts him off. Narrator, her voice, clear and unwavering. I don't need your apologies. I don't need your excuses. I don't need perfect life if I'm only there to pay the price for it. You can have your wedding. You can have your life. But I'm taking mine back. She hangs up the phone without another word. The camera lingers on her face, the soft breath she takes, the calmness that fills her after finally speaking her truth. She sets the phone down gently on the table, as if closing a door behind her. Narrator, her voice filled with a quiet power, like a weight has been lifted. For so long, I had put myself last. For so long, I had tried to be what they wanted me to be. But no more. Today, I choose myself. Today, I take back what was always mine. She stands up, her movements deliberate, and walks over to the window. The city outside is waking up, people going about their day. She breathes in deeply, the weight of the decision settling in. Narrator, her voice filled with peace, but with the strength of someone who knows they've made the right choice. I don't need them to understand. I don't need them to agree. I don't need their love if it means sacrificing who I am. I am enough just as I am. And I will never let anyone forget that again. She turns away from the window, looking out over the world with a quiet smile, as if for the first time, she sees herself in a new light. The scene opens with the woman sitting at her kitchen table, the morning sun casting a soft glow over her coffee mug. The space around her feels lighter, free of the weight that had burdened her for so long. Her hands are steady as she stirs her drink, a sense of calm and purpose radiating from her. Narrator, her voice quiet but filled with a sense of new beginnings. It's strange, isn't it? How quickly things can change when we finally take control of our own lives. I used to think that I needed their validation, their approval. I thought that if I just gave a little more, sacrificed a little more, that one day they'd see me. But now I know better. She glances around the room, her home, her sanctuary. The camera lingers on the small details. A vase of fresh flowers on the windowsill, a photo of her with friends, and a letter sitting on the counter that she's about to open. Each small thing feels like a personal victory, an affirmation that she's reclaiming her space in the world. Narrator, her voice stronger now, more resolute. I'm not just a mother. I'm not just a wife, a daughter, a friend. I'm me. I am Margaret. And for the first time, I'm living for me. Not for anyone else. Not for what they think I should be. But for who I am right here, right now. She opens the letter, a small smile curling on her lips. It's from an old friend she hasn't seen in years, inviting her to an art exhibit they're hosting. The invitation feels like a breath of fresh air, something just for her. Narrator, her voice filled with warmth, almost as if she's surprised by the feeling. I haven't painted in years, but seeing this letter, seeing this invitation, reminded me of who I used to be. The woman who once created beautiful things, not just for others, but for herself. And it felt like I was being called back to something I had forgotten. She places the letter down on the table and looks at the blank canvas that sits on the counter, gathering dust. She picks up her paintbrush, running it through her fingers, as if reconnecting with something deep inside herself. Narrator, her voice reflective, almost nostalgic. For so long, I poured myself into everyone else's dreams, into their visions. I never asked what I wanted, but now, for the first time, I get to decide. I get to choose my own dreams. And maybe, just maybe, those dreams can be as big as I want them to be. The camera shows her as she sets up her easel, pulling out her paints and brushes. She begins to mix colors, the soft strokes of the brush starting to form something beautiful, something uniquely hers. The joy of creation begins to shine through her eyes. Narrator, her voice quiet but filled with anticipation. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I'm ready for it. For the first time in my life, I'm not waiting for someone else to tell me what my story should be. I'm writing it myself with every brushstroke, with every decision. And I'm not afraid anymore. She steps back from the canvas, looking at the painting with a small smile. The scene shifts to her getting dressed, preparing for the art exhibit she's now planning to attend. Her movements are confident, purposeful. She's no longer the woman who stayed in the background. Narrator, her voice gaining momentum, a sense of empowerment growing. The world is full of possibilities, and I'm going to take them. I'm not going to be the one who fades into the background anymore. I'm going to step into the spotlight. I'm going to take my seat at the head of my own table, surrounded by people who see me not just for what I can do for them, but for who I am. Cut to the art gallery, where she walks through the doors, her heart beating a little faster. She's dressed simply but elegantly, her presence radiating confidence. As she steps into the gallery, the camera follows her as she walks past the paintings, the hum of conversations and laughter filling the air. She's here for herself, for the woman she's become. Narrator, her voice filled with pride, her steps sure and steady. I've spent too many years hiding, too many years thinking that my value was in what I could give, in what I could do for others. But I'm done with that. I'm here now for me. And that's enough. She walks up to a group of women, strangers, but their faces light up when they see her. There's an unspoken connection between them. Women who see her, who acknowledge her presence, who welcome her. Narrator, her voice soft but full of gratitude. For the first time in a long time, I feel seen. Not for what I can give, but for who I am. I'm not just someone's mother, someone's wife, or someone's caretaker. I am me, and that's all I ever needed to be. She smiles, and the camera lingers on her face as she mingles, chatting with people who appreciate her. She looks around at the paintings, a new sense of pride blooming within her. The joy she once found in creating art is now returning, but this time, it's her art, her vision. Narrator, her voice filled with quiet contentment. This is just the beginning. I have no idea where this journey will take me, but I'm ready. And whatever comes next, I'll face it as the woman I've become. The woman who stopped being invisible. The woman who took back her life. She takes a deep breath, feeling the moment. The camera pulls back as she continues to chat, her laughter filling the room. The scene fades to black, the sound of her laughter lingering in the air. The camera opens with a quiet, peaceful morning. The sunlight filters through the windows, casting a golden glow across the room. The woman is sitting at her kitchen table once again, sipping her coffee. Her expression is calm, content, like she's finally at peace with herself. The camera slowly pans over the room, her sanctuary. It's a space filled with little details that reflect her journey. Photos, artwork, books, and a life lived fully with all its ups and downs. Narrator, her voice calm, reflective, with a sense of finality. I used to think that the story of my life was written by everyone else. I used to believe that my worth was defined by the roles I played for others, mother, wife, caregiver. I let those roles become my identity, even when they asked more than I could give. But I've learned something important. My story is mine to write. She looks out the window, watching the world go by. Cars pass, people walk by on the sidewalk, and for the first time in a long time, she feels like she's part of it. She's not standing on the sidelines anymore. She's in the center of her own life, fully engaged. Narrator, her voice soft, filled with a new sense of purpose. I'm no longer hiding behind the walls I built around myself. I'm no longer the woman who waits quietly in the background, hoping for a thank you that never comes. I'm the woman who stands tall and owns her space. The woman who decides when enough is enough and when to start something new. She walks to a bookshelf, picking up a journal. The camera zooms in on the pages where she has written down her thoughts. Her words are clear, bold, full of purpose, plans for the future, dreams she's never allowed herself to dream before. Narrator, her voice filled with quiet pride, as if she's talking about a new chapter she's about to begin. There was a time when I thought I had to do everything for everyone else. But I know now, I don't have to do anything for anyone who doesn't see me. I've learned to say no, to draw boundaries, to stop accepting less than I deserve. She sets the journal down and walks over to the window. The light outside is soft, promising a new day, a new beginning. She smiles, a genuine smile, one that lights up her whole face. Narrator, her voice strong, confident. I'm not just surviving anymore. I'm thriving. I'm choosing joy, choosing peace, and choosing the things that make me feel alive. And it's not selfish. It's self-respect. It's self-love. She picks up the phone, this time with a different energy. It's not a phone call of obligation. It's one of choice. She dials the number of her sister, her voice full of warmth as they laugh together. The camera captures the moments of joy as she reconnects with loved ones, people who see her not for what she can give them, but for who she truly is. Narrator, her voice softens, filled with gratitude. It's amazing how everything changes when we finally allow ourselves to take up space. When we stop shrinking, stop hiding, and start being who we were always meant to be. And the best part? We find people who truly see us. People who don't just take, but give back. People who respect us, cherish us. She puts the phone down, and the camera follows her as she walks out the door, stepping into the sunlight. The world feels vast and open, full of possibilities. The camera captures her as she walks confidently down the street, her steps strong, unhurried, with no destination but her own freedom. Narrator, her voice filled with hope, a soft laugh escaping her lips. For the first time in years, I feel like I'm finally living my life. The one I've always wanted. I don't need their approval anymore. I don't need their acceptance. I've learned to approve of myself, to accept myself. She pauses on the sidewalk, looking around her with a contented smile. There's no rush, no pressure, just the simple joy of being present in the moment. The camera captures the soft breeze moving through her hair, the light on her face, her life unfolding before her eyes. Narrator, her voice steady, filled with love for herself and her journey. I've come a long way, from the woman who sat behind the kitchen door at her son's wedding to the woman standing here today, free and unafraid. I've learned that my worth doesn't come from what others think of me. It comes from within. It always has. She continues walking, a new sense of purpose in her steps. The camera pulls back, showing her from behind as she walks confidently toward her future. The world is hers to take. Narrator, her voice strong, final with a sense of peace. And now, I'm ready for whatever comes next. Because I know one thing for sure. I will always choose me. I will always choose my own happiness. I will always choose to be seen, to be heard, and to be loved for who I truly am. The camera fades to black as the sound of her footsteps echoes in the distance, soft but unwavering, a symbol of her strength and the journey she's undertaken.